The Westminster Consortium is a group of organisations who worked together from 2009 to 2013 to strengthen parliamentary democracy in Georgia, Lebanon, Mozambique, Uganda, Ukraine, and more recently Morocco. The 5-year TWC programme was managed by the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and funded by the Department for International Development. Organisations in the consortium included the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association UK branch, House of Commons Overseas Office, International Bar Association, National Audit Office, Thomson Reuters Foundation, and the Institute for Democracy and Conflict Resolution, Essex University. With the programme in its closing stages, a conference was held in May 2013, attended by more than 60 delegates, to share the achievements, challenges and lessons learned from the last 5 years. Participants included Secretary-Generals, MPs, parliamentary staff, representatives from the consortium and WFD programme staff, among other stakeholders.
I think the uniqueness of the TWC model is that we had real credible partners in people like the CPA, the House of Commons, the International Bar Association, Thomson Reuters Foundation and the National Audit Office. But also the parliaments recognized that what they were bringing was professional, was of a much higher standard, and it came with good credibility.
The focus really of our work has been around strengthening governance, about improving the quality of governance in all of the countries in which we work and operate. Good governance is a prerequisite for long-term development and prosperity. We sought to develop a sustainable learning model for the future. We had seen many programmes of assistance to parliaments that ended when the funding ended.
One of the important things that we tried to do through this program was to recognize that the core knowledge in the legislative sectors is in the parliament. So the approach we took was very simple. Was to establish parliamentary centres to encourage, to organize and coordinate capacity building, pair local and international partners on thematic areas, encourage the local development and ownership of curriculum, using trainer-of-trainer programs to develop internal trainers, use curriculum localization visits, especially some coming to the UK, to gain best practice and gain new knowledge to take back. We supported the joint delivery of courses between international and local partners. We encouraged the inclusion of local partners in parliamentary workshops and activities, and we encouraged South-South exchanges between the 6 countries that were part of our program.
The Westminster Consortium started interacting with the Parliament of Uganda in 2009, and what I can quickly see as a main result is the establishment of the Institute of Parliamentary Studies, an infrastructure that has now grown to be relied on for building the capacity of members of Parliament and other stakeholders that work with the Parliament of Uganda. It was hitherto not thought about. The training and capacity building was not well organized, but now we have a mechanism through which we can build capacity of members and staff. And that all goes to the Westminster Consortium.
We worked primarily in 5 thematic areas, which was civil society, human rights, access to information, financial oversight, and parliamentary process and management. We saw that as we increased the linkages and the contact with Parliament, Parliament started to trust the relationships better. And we'd start to see an inclusion of partners in planning, in thinking, in cooperation. But more than anything, we saw a remarkable increase in the amount of capacity building and the value for money of this approach and the number of courses that suddenly were being generated in a parliament. The way the chain does work is that civil society, CSOs, parliaments, political parties engage with parliaments. If they engage well, it produces good legislation, conducts better oversight, represents the needs of the people. That results in better service delivery, greater transparency, greater freedom and human rights, and ultimately leads to a better quality of life.
There's now a very close linkage between the Human Rights Commission and the committee and Parliament, which was previously not really that close. But not only the Human Rights Commission, with other human rights CSOs. We had the CSOs on board right from the beginning.
And actually we've had an agreement between the Moroccan Parliament with both chambers, the lower and the upper houses. We had that agreement back in 2011. And that agreement wanted actually Morocco to benefit from best international standards in terms of oversight, scrutiny, and legislation. We actually benefited from a lot of training sessions, and we are now setting up an institute of studies for MPs in both houses. We hope it will be a joint venture between the lower and the upper houses, and we are actually trying to hold this as an ongoing process, this oversight. We don't want it to be seasonal process. We want it to be an ongoing process, and we are working on this actually with Westminster Foundation for Democracy. Actually, this we have had very positive cooperation program with WFD, and this program has actually been the subject of so much attention and special attention from the Speaker of the House and all the Parliament. We've had several workshops and working sessions with WFD, and we've worked on Parliament proceedings and so on. And this project has actually resulted in several reports on various issues of interest. For example, the Parliament channel, and also the Public Accounts Committee, setting up of Public Accounts Committee, and also scrutiny of Parliament works and so on. And this program has also allowed us to get to understand how things work in the House of Commons and the British Parliament.
This Arab Institute is very, very important for us. It's very important for the parliamentarians, and it's also important for the staff. And I think that this institute is the best way to help the parliamentarians to know their job, and also it's very important for the staff of the parliament to know how to deal with all the problems that they will face in the parliaments. I think that this important institute will be like a kitchen for our democracy in the Arab world. It will be the place where we can find and we can form and educate our staffs and our parliamentarians to do their job.
People need to have access to information about what the state administration is doing. That people have the right to know how decisions are made by the state and by government. The other thing that the consortium did to assist us was to bring the Commission to the United Kingdom. And in the United Kingdom, we were able to speak to the House of Commons. We had interaction with members of Parliament that were involved with the Secrecy Act here. We met with the Reuters Foundation. We spoke to the Bar Association. We spoke to Article 19. And we became much more confident because we understood that the issues about fundamental democracy and talking about the right to information were not just issues of underdeveloped countries where we technically were not well informed, but it is something that is happening also in the concerns are the same in the so-called first world. So when it came time for the Commission to sit back with civil society and representatives of the media, we had discussions from a stance of knowledge. So something that we had thought was going to be extraordinarily contentious turned out to be a very successful process in Mozambican Parliament. And I think that the fact that the Westminster Consortium came on board without an agenda. The agenda was to support Mozambican Parliament and the Commission in specific terms, and that they understood that they were not to interfere in the running of the studying of the law. If all donors could participate in political processes like ours in that manner, I think Parliament would be a better place.
And I realized that with politicians, they will work with you as long as they trust you. And I think that as a development organization, strengthening parliamentary strengthening and political party strengthening, we could not come with our own agenda. What we were doing is we were building the capacity of a parliament to be able to actively bring up policies and let the parliament and society decide whether those policies are credible or not. And once the parliaments realized that we're actually coming from a neutral standpoint, they gave us unfettered access to their institution. They trusted us in their internal processes. In a way, sometimes we felt that we were part of their family.
The TWC program was valuable for us because we felt ourselves in a situation of ownership of the program. We feel the WC program, I can say even it was the best because it gave us very fast results with few resources.
So Westminster Foundation's project in Georgia, developing parliamentary oversight in Georgia, is considered as one of the best projects in Georgia regarding parliamentary institutional capacity building. The most important one is capacity development of the institution itself, the parliament, towards the oversight of the oversight function of the parliament, strategic planning of the parliament, and organizational development of the parliament.
Our leader of the panel already mentioned the handbook for human rights, for parliaments and on human rights is our Bible, and this Bible was partially translated and adopted for Ukrainian needs twice. The former Ministry of Interior, who was imprisoned, and in August 2012, the European Court of Human Rights issued the decision. Our work really influenced the situation, and the presence of international experts on human rights issues really adds a lot to effectiveness of delivery of this opinion.
We came up with, the committee has come up with a very good checklist, human rights checklist, as we shall see later. This was informed again by the work that had been done under the consortium on the handbook for members of parliament and staff. And what pretty much was done was to now localize that, pick out, and be more specific. So that was also another tangible achievement, I think, of this program. So the tools, there's the handbook I've talked about that was prepared in a very, I think also in a very interesting manner, that it was not just handed to the different parliaments. I think we all participated in the production of this book. So the approach really has been very participatory, and there's a lot of buy-in and ownership. You take it as your own. And I think that was very important in the success of this.
If you know that you have funding for 5 years, you can really make in-depth reforms, as we've seen through some of the results from this programme. And I really do believe that governance reform, to be successful, needs to engage for the long term, and it needs to engage with multiple partners. So many programmes, when the funding comes to an end, the activity stops. Here we've got good examples of human rights commissions, of freedom of information legislation, of parliamentary study centres that are viable and are sustaining training and will carry on doing that long after the programme ends.
I think the most important results of what we've managed to achieve through our process is that we have opened up parliaments. I think we've opened up parliaments to engage with the media. We've opened up parliaments to engage with civil society. And by doing that, we've actually improved the quality of what a parliament produces. We've made the parliament more visible, we've made parliaments more accessible, and we've made the parliaments more relatable to their citizens.